Now, while I was out on this ride today, I was thinking of something that I've heard from many other people that own these bikes or have had them in the past. Every single person has the same thing. The engine is bulletproof. And the drag racers of the time, and I remember when I had my bike, and it was almost new, a couple of years later even, everybody that had any interest in drag racing, this was the engine they wanted to use to make a drag bike, put that extended swing and arm on and everything. But it was this engine. And this engine, after 75,000 miles, is still bulletproof. Boy, today looks like it's going to be one of the nicest days in a long time. It's right at the end of the summer. We're right coming up on fall. And it's just starting to cool down just enough that it's a little more enjoyable on the ride home. Now, because I've had this bike since it was new, and I've ridden it aggressively, but I haven't abused it, and I know some people that abuse it, and even holds up pretty well even if you abuse it, or they constantly doing hole shots. I don't do hole shots, I don't do wheelies, I don't do things that really put an unnecessary stress on anything. And what happened is, as the years have gone by, that's proven to be a good conservative approach, and to me the bike right now is as much fun as when it was new. It's a nice day to ride your 40-year-old GS, boys. Come on, come on, let's go. Come on. I was kind of in a rush to get all the work on the farm done and feed the fish and take care of the things Karen needed. She's going to be cooking tomatoes today. We have a banner crop of tomatoes this year from our garden. Everything she makes with fresh stuff. We've been eating it all summer, and it's, of course, one of the things I enjoy, just going out to the garden, picking a bucket of fresh tomatoes, and then making something. And Karen enjoys it. So what's on the menu today, baby? Fresh from the garden?
This will be roasted tomato sauce.
Roasted tomato sauce.
And I might make roasted tomato soup out of it as well.
You got enough tomatoes today. And while I'm out riding, the bride will be making something. We almost have an unlimited supply of tomatoes this year, and she's using them every day. I put a lot of time, a lot of energy into doing things to this bike to maintain it. The wheels, the brakes, the finish on the bike. But one thing I haven't spent a lot of time doing is working on the engine. In fact, this engine has never been apart. The head's never even been off in 75,000 miles. And like all the bikes in my collection, I've been religious about doing the oil changes, the filters, maintaining the chain, keeping it clean, keeping it lubed, and doing things that a lot of people, when they have a bike over the years, at the end of the bike's life, they tend to neglect it. I don't. Now, over the years, I've had friends that have put four into one exhaust and different modifications, that big bore carburetors, and change things around and modify the engine. I basically not bitten on that and kept it stock, and over the years, it's been bulletproof. And when you're not prone to doing hole shots and wheelies and abusing things, the clutch in this bike has lasted 75,000 so far. We'll see how long it lasts. Now, one of the only mods I have on the bike that affects the engine, I have a 1986 exhaust system. You need to make a special bracket. The stock bracket will not work. I made mine out of carbon fiber. This was donated by my good friend, the late Frank Straub, from his collection. Another feature of this engine, it makes it really attractive. It's easy to maintain. You can get to the plugs with no big deal with the wrench that comes in the toolkit. And you basically can do all the maintenance on this bike very easily and without a big hassle. It's a real nice feature. Now, some modern bikes, and none in particular, but they do a valve adjustment on them and they call for it on a regular basis. To do that work, the normal maintenance you would need for some bikes is a nightmare. And you've got to have a wallet that's stacked with $100 bills. This bike, you need a little adjuster. And what's even nicer, the fact you can adjust the valves conveniently with that little screw adjuster. You need a gasket every time you do it. It's not $1,000 like it is on some motorcycles with the shims and all the paraphernalia you need and draining radiators. It's an attractive feature of the bike. One of the reasons I call it a bulletproof engine. Now, every time I pass something like this, and you look at what this is, there's a car probably 20 years ago, somebody abandoned, there's trees growing through it. I'm always tempted, it's on somebody's property though, to take a look in the trunk and see if John Gotti or somebody's in the trunk of the car. I don't know. Some spooky stuff in this neighborhood here. Now, when Joe Padula, who has the exact same bike in his collection, he rode the bike, he noticed right away a little bit of extra rumble from the 86 exhaust. I think the 86 exhaust is just a little bit louder than the stock one. It's got a little bit more of a rumble. But no matter which exhaust I've had on a bike, and I've had 3 different exhausts already, I kind of like this one the best. The sound going through the gears is just a little bit louder than stock, but it's not offensive and it's not annoying, and you don't announce to the local law enforcement that you're coming down the road. Now, this bike is 40 years old, and one of the things that, very few things that has not stood the test of time, the tabs that hold the side covers on are very flimsy and thin, and I've had to repair them. One of the very few things. Now, another reason I call this a bulletproof engine, with all the miles it's got on it, you look at it real close, it's not seeping oil out of every gasket, every screw hole, and it doesn't turn into a filthy, dirty thing. I try to keep it kind of clean. Now, another thing Suzuki got right with the bike, the engine gets great mileage, and they put a decent sized gas tank on it. You can get 200 miles out of that tank of gas. A lot of modern bikes, you get 120 if you're lucky, and then you're looking for a gas station. And one of the other few things that Suzuki, I think, could have made a little bit better, the airbox, when you have to service the carburetors or pull them off, the airbox, getting the airbox on and off, especially after the boots dry out a little bit, can be a really labor-intensive thing, especially if you're alone. And when these bikes were new, they were one of the first bikes that you could buy from a dealer, go right down to the drag strip and turn in the 11s. And everybody that did that, I know, was impressed. These really were fast for their time. And one of the things that's helped this engine over the years is having overdrive gearing. The gearing on this is 16 in the front, 40 in the back, and it really takes a strain off the engine when you're cruising on a highway at highway speeds or a little above. Now, I was real happy when Joe Padula got his running and we went for a joint ride together on the two GSs. But was that ever a great memory? And I remember when 3, 4, 5 of my friends all had these. It was a very popular bike in its time. Now I know other people with GSs have had over 100,000 on them, and this one's headed there, and I ride it on a regular basis. It's a daily driver, and after all this time, it still doesn't burn any oil, and it still doesn't leak anywhere. And after 40 years, you just take it out of the garage, fill up the gas tank on a nice day like today, head out to the open road, cruise, go through the gears, find some guys with sport bikes, you can sneak up on them. It is such a great bike. Now, if you look close, the roads today, a lot of the places, especially in the shade, were wet. And these Michelin Commanders, boy, they don't slip at all on that wet roads. And I can't say that about all the tires I've had on this bike, but I love the Michelin Commanders. Over the last winter, getting steel brake lines, new EBC discs, and when I painted the wheels, getting a brand new fresh set of Michelin Commanders on there. The bike's so much nicer to ride. And one of the pieces of the puzzle I still don't have is I still don't have a convenient, realistic way to mount the Valentine radar detector. I have a feeling over the winter I'm going to come up with something. I didn't want to have something gawky and ugly, but I think I have an idea of what I can do right now. And Luciano's going to give me a spare gas tank. And I still have good memories of when the bike was relatively new and it just had gotten broken in. And well, back in that day, it was all about drag racing, everybody pulling up to lights and all of the bikes of the era. And boy, this one was always the king. Now, there's a good chance if you're still watching this video, you have some good memories of the old GS series of motorcycles back in the day. And boy, the memories, they never fade, they never get dull, and they never go away. And that engine, whether you short shift it, go right to red line, no matter what you do, that engine slides you back in the seat and puts a smile on your face. And it does it 40 years later without ever going out of style. It's never going to go out of style. And I always think it's one of the things I have in my life for 40 years. And I don't have a lot of other things for 40 years that are still in this good condition. Anyway, the day worked out great. We had a wonderful ride. We drained out the tank. It's time to go buy some gas and get home and make that boring ride down Route 80. But with the overdrive gearing, it's a piece of cake. And see what Karen's got cooking. She was cooking when I left the house this morning. The sun really never did come out today, but who cares? The temperature was nice, and whatever's going to happen later this afternoon, we could use the rain, so it doesn't even matter. And as always, our GS, just a bulletproof motorcycle. Reliable, good on gas, comfortable, and always a lot of fun to go through the years. So I hope you did enjoy sharing this ride with us and this little piece of our life. And for me, that GS has been part of my life for 40 years, and I can't tell you about the memories. You have to. I'm sure everybody, the people that are still watching this video, they have the memories too. Nice to have tools, huh? A Harbor Freight Mixmaster.
I don't think so. A Vitamix.
Vitamix. Sometimes when I'm on the ride back, I can start to picture in my mind what Karen's been cooking, and it adds a little enjoyment to the ride home, which that Route 80 part of the ride is not the high point of my day. But having this bike has been one of the high points of my life. It has been one of the best decisions I ever made, was to buy it, to keep it, to maintain it, and do the restoration of parts that I need, and to get that parts bike. So I have my own parts supply. That's so important for a 40-year-old bike. And the fact that some of my friends like Joe Padula still have it and still have that bulletproof engine. That engine, you laugh all you want, that engine, I'll bet 20 years from now is going to be just as popular and draw a crowd as it is today. It's a wonderful bulletproof engine.